Top 11 Powerful Mindsets to Accelerate Your Path to Success. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Ordinary people change outcomes. Exceptional people change causes. And top masters change their thinking. Professor Carol Dweck from Stanford University mentioned in her lifelong research on growth that the difference between individuals is not due to talent or hard work, but the level of one's mindset, which ultimately defines the limits of their life. Below are the top 11 ways of thinking, and if you nurture them, you'll achieve success earlier than others. 1. Adaptive thinking. A drop of water weighs about 50 times more than a mosquito. When combined with the acceleration due to gravity, the impact of a drop of water on a mosquito is equivalent to a bus crashing into a human. But why are most mosquitoes safe on rainy days? An American professor used a high-speed camera to capture how mosquitoes escape in the rain. When a drop of water hits the mosquito's wings or legs, it tilts its body in the direction of the drop, then flips to let the drop slide off. Furthermore, the mosquito's body is coated with water-repellent material similar to a lotus leaf, helping it escape from the water drop by simply stretching its legs and wings. Even if a drop hits it, the mosquito goes with the drop's momentum, falls with it, and quickly adjusts its posture to separate from the drop and continue flying. No matter how heavy the drop, mosquitoes can survive by continuously adjusting their strategy, adapting to their environment and situation. This proves Darwin's theory of evolution. The species that survive are not the strongest or smartest, but those that react fastest to change. Andy Grove, Intel's founder, proposed the 10x change theory. External changes always happen 10 times faster than we anticipate. Look around. Many stable jobs have been completely transformed, and many once thriving industries are now being replaced by virtual reality in this rapidly changing world. If we want stability, we must actively adapt to change. Before we explore further, don't forget to subscribe to our channel to learn more facts about money and quickly achieve financial freedom. 2. Probabilistic thinking. During World War II, a research group at Columbia University was tasked with analyzing data to minimize losses for American planes. They noticed that the distribution of bullet holes was uneven, and they proposed reinforcing the areas that were hit the most. While this seemed logical, the brilliant mathematician Abraham Wald disagreed. He argued that the areas with fewer bullet holes, particularly the engines, should be reinforced. Wald explained that probabilistically, every part of the plane had an equal chance of being hit. But why were there fewer bullet holes in the engines? His reasoning, planes hit in the engine couldn't return, whereas planes hit in other areas could still land safely. It's similar to observing that patients with leg injuries are more common than those with chest injuries. Not because legs are easier to wound, but because those with chest injuries often don't survive. Ordinary people see the planes that returned with bullet holes, but masters see the missing bullet holes. This gap in perception comes from probabilistic thinking. People who possess this mindset can make more accurate decisions. Charlie Munger, an investment master, once likened his investment wisdom to fishing. The first rule of fishing is to fish where the fish are, and the second rule is to always remember the first rule. Throughout our lives, we face 3 questions. What should we do? What shouldn't we do? What should we repeat doing? Probabilistic thinking helps us identify what to do, what to avoid, and what to commit to for the long term. 3. Leverage thinking. In the 1990s, the British Library needed to move more than 13 million books from its old location in London to its new facility in St. Pancras. The estimated transportation cost was £3.5 million. If you were the library manager, what would you do to cut costs? Would you hire cheaper labor or reduce transportation costs? Given the enormous workload, all solutions seemed like drops in the ocean. What would someone with advanced thinking do? A young library staff member approached the manager and said, "I have a way, and I only need £150,000. The next day, the young staffer posted an announcement in the newspaper. Starting today, the British Library will be open to the public free of charge, with no limits on book borrowing. To help reduce relocation costs, please return books to the new library location as specified." By turning the concept of moving books into returning books, the young staffer completed 90% of the work at a fraction of the projected budget. This is the power of leverage thinking. In the book Genius on the Left, Lunatic on the Right, there's a quote, "If thinking is a wall, the world lies beyond it. There are no dead ends, only fixed mindsets. When you encounter a problem and hit a dead end, try changing directions. You might see the light at the end of the tunnel." 4. Four-dimensional thinking. Michael Mymans, a best-selling American author, spent 5 years researching self-made billionaire entrepreneurs. He found that these outstanding founders shared a common way of thinking when facing problems. They used four-dimensional thinking to view the world, while most people remained stuck in one-dimensional thinking. One-dimensional thinkers limit their perspective to a specific area of expertise. In contrast, four-dimensional thinkers can see from the past to the future, spanning hundreds of years, to make decisions. One-dimensional thinkers chase short-term gains, while four-dimensional thinkers focus on long-term benefits. For example, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, is willing to invest billions in experiments that may fail or take 7 years to turn a profit. Similarly, Warren Buffett, chairman of Berkshire Hathaway, only invests in companies he believes he can hold for decades. Masayoshi Son, the founder of SoftBank, once asked his employees, "Why do most people not achieve great success?" His employees were puzzled. Son drew a mountain on paper, with a circle at the base and another at the peak, connected by the word ideal. He explained that ideals act as a beacon, guiding you. When you have clear goals, you are more patient, calm, and determined. Short-term success won't mislead you, and temporary failures won't scare you. Therefore, never overestimate the short-term achievements of 1 year, and never underestimate the changes over 10 years. Always do the right thing. Time will provide the answers. 5. Upstream thinking. The editorial team of a reality show once interviewed top programmers in the country, asking them what the core challenge of their profession was. You might think their job revolves around writing better code or mastering more programming languages, but their answers had nothing to do with these skills. They all unanimously said, querying the demand. The vice president of Tencent shared a story from his time working at Google when he was responsible for improving conversion rates from searches to ads. At that time, the company's business team noticed that Chinese users had lower conversion rates and suggested to the technical department to increase the font size of the ads and change the background color to make them more prominent. Instead of making these adjustments directly, he and his team asked, "What is the core issue you want to solve?" After discussing, they realized the business team wanted to improve conversion rates. After investigating further, they discovered that the homepages of Chinese portals often contained many banners at the top, causing users to scroll past the ads, whereas Google ads appeared right at the top. They moved the ads to the bottom of the page, and conversion rates increased. Top engineers don't just focus on writing code. They understand the human needs behind the lines of code. This is upstream thinking. 6. Ants' lazy thinking. At Hokkaido University in Japan, an evolutionary biology research group conducted an experiment with 3 groups of ants, each consisting of 30 ants, to observe how they divide labor. They found that most of the ants were busy working hard, cleaning the nest, transporting food, and caring for the young. However, some ants appeared to be very lazy, just wandering around while others were working. The biologists called these ants lazy ants and marked them. Surprisingly, when the researchers cut off the food supply of the ant colony, the hard-working ants became frantic, while the lazy ants, those marked, led the colony to find new food sources. In fact, these lazy ants weren't truly lazy. They spent their time scouting. This phenomenon is known as the famous lazy ant effect. Have you ever fallen into the trap of being a hard-working ant? Psychologist Jordan Peterson once presented a self-assessment checklist. You spend a lot of time on the easiest tasks and feel satisfied, even if you have no achievements, just because you put in effort. You procrastinate in the name of preparation. You appear busy but make no real progress, never review your work, read many books but never summarize the patterns, or if you do summarize, you don't apply them in life. If you show these signs, it's time to change. While pushing forward, don't forget to look up and see the bigger picture to ensure you're heading in the right direction. 7. Contextual thinking. In the mid-19th century, psychologist Kurt Kafka introduced the theory of context, suggesting that the external environment has two types. 1. The geographic environment, which is the real environment, and 2. The behavioral environment, which exists in people's imaginations. He told a story. One winter night, a man riding a horse arrived in front of an inn during a blinding snowstorm. He was delighted to have found shelter. The innkeeper came out, surprised, and asked where the man had come from. The man pointed outside. Upon hearing this, the innkeeper was horrified and said, "Do you know? You just rode across Lake Constance." Upon hearing this, the man collapsed at the innkeeper's feet. When the man rode across the lake was the geographic environment, but in his mind, it was just a snow-covered field. Had he known he was crossing a large, dangerous lake, he probably wouldn't have dared to ride quickly over it. But because he thought it was solid ground, he kept moving forward. After learning the truth, the shock caused him to collapse. Humans are products of their environment, and the best way to change yourself is to always place yourself in a nurturing environment. If you want to improve focus, create a space free from distractions. To enhance awareness, remove low-quality short video apps and replace them with classic books. To maintain a positive mood, stay away from things that upset you, argue less with others, and spend more time in nature. If you're dissatisfied with your current situation, start by changing your environment. Then change yourself, and start now. 8. Redirected thinking. Not every wall is worth running into. Life offers many possibilities, and there's no rule that says you must stick to one path, even when you encounter difficulties. Timely changing your course is the best way to take responsibility for your life. A netizen shared a story about their cousin. She was over 30 years old, had a stable job, but her relatives still considered her single. At every family gathering, she couldn't avoid being questioned by aunts and uncles. Eventually, her parents arranged for her to meet a man. They had similar interests and quickly developed feelings for each other. Soon, they were discussing marriage. One day, my cousin discovered a message on her boyfriend's phone and learned that he had a gambling habit. Almost all of his salary was spent on gambling, and his family even helped him hide it. At first, she tried to advise him to quit, knowing gambling is highly addictive. He didn't argue, but showed little interest in her advice. Then one day, he suddenly asked her for money to cover his living expenses. Surprised, she asked why he needed money so soon after payday. He replied, "I lost it all." He even seemed annoyed and blamed her, saying, "We're not even married yet, and you're already interfering in my affairs." Hearing this, she didn't say a word and walked straight home. That night, she broke off the relationship. The next day, both families kept urging her to reconsider, insisting the man would change and that she shouldn't give up so easily, but she remained firm in her decision. Later, she met a better man, while her ex-boyfriend sank deeper into debt because of gambling, even losing his job and having to flee his creditors. In this story, the key lesson is that persistence doesn't always yield results, and some things are not worth pursuing as they only lead to stubbornness. Life isn't always smooth, and not every wall is worth running into. Giving up wisely is better than blindly being stubborn, and stopping in time to pull yourself out of a quagmire will help you find a new path. 9. Filling the hole. Thinking. If you can't solve the problem, you will become the problem. Peng Wei, CEO of Alipay, once said, "Whatever Jack Ma's decision is, my job is to make sure that decision becomes the best one." The greatest success of a person lies in their ability to solve problems, whether in work or life. The filling the hole mindset is a key competitive skill. A famous writer once shared a personal experience. When he first joined a company, after just 3 days, the CEO's assistant suddenly announced that he had to attend a meeting. As soon as he entered the room, before understanding the context, the CEO scolded him directly. "You're responsible for the company's website, right? It's terrible, and you need to revamp it within 30 days. I want to see a new version launched by then." The writer was stunned, as he had only been working for 3 days and knew nothing about running the website. But he quickly realized that this was a trap set by his predecessors to test him. Many people might have refused, but he didn't. He just nodded and got to work. For the next month, he was constantly busy, planning sections, finding technicians, coordinating the UI design team, and finally launching the new version on time. The CEO was very pleased and later discovered that the writer was not actually responsible for the website. This made the CEO even more impressed with him, recommending the general manager appoint him as product manager and nominating him as the company's outstanding employee of the year. In just over a month, from being a new hire, he had become a trusted employee thanks to his filling the hole ability. Every time you fill the hole is an opportunity to train yourself, build resilience, and become someone who naturally handles difficulties, laying a solid foundation for future success. Work is always a series of holes, one after another, and your task is to learn how to fill them. Only when you fill the hole can you continue to move forward. The difference between people lies in whether they can fill the hole when faced with difficulties. Outstanding people tend to find solutions, while average people make excuses and avoid responsibility. How far someone can go depends on how well they can fill the hole. 10. The barrel theory. Certainly, do not let your weaknesses destroy your strengths. Truly intelligent people are those who not only recognize their strengths, but also acknowledge their weaknesses. Instead of continually focusing on confronting weaknesses, find ways to maximize your strengths and discover your moments to shine. There was a famous German scientist named Otto Wallach. As a child, he followed his parents' wishes and studied literature, though he had no interest in it. After one semester, the teacher had to inform his parents that while Wallach was diligent, he was too stubborn. Such a person, despite perfect moral character, would not excel in literature. His parents then allowed him to study painting, but his art teacher also concluded that he had no talent as his paintings went unnoticed. Wallach encountered many failures when taking the wrong path, which significantly diminished his confidence. Until one day, his kind chemistry teacher advised him, "You are meticulous and have a knack for practical work. Why not try chemistry?" From then on, Wallach's abilities seemed to ignite. He quickly grew into an outstanding talent in chemistry. In 1910, he won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for his success in synthesizing artificial fragrances. Human intellectual development is uneven. Each person has their own strengths and weaknesses. Weaknesses can become obstacles in life, limiting our growth. A smart person is one who knows how to leverage their strengths and avoid their weaknesses, thereby paving a wider, smoother path in life. 11. The empty cup mindset. Sometimes, resetting your life requires emptying your mind. I once heard a story like this. A young man, after failing in his entrepreneurial efforts, blamed the times and the surrounding circumstances. After listening to his parents talk about a wise sage, he decided to visit him. Initially, the sage's disciple greeted the young man, but the young man arrogantly remarked, "How could a young person like you be qualified to receive me?" Soon after, the sage personally came to humbly welcome the young man. As the sage made tea, even though the cup was full, he continued to pour. The young man asked, "Why do you keep pouring when the cup is already full?" The sage smiled and replied, "Yes, if the cup is full, how can you add more water?" Hearing this, the young man suddenly realized that the sage was reminding him that no matter where or when, one must keep an empty mind. Only by consistently emptying oneself and not clinging to the past can one rebuild their future. One must always remain humble and ready to learn. The French writer Émile Zola once said, "The entire meaning of life lies in continuously exploring the unknown and constantly increasing knowledge." If a person remains immersed in the glories of the past and becomes complacent, they will never achieve new breakthroughs. Outstanding people often dare to renew themselves, erase the past, and start afresh to create a better version of themselves. Conclusion. Life is a journey of honing the ability to break through mental barriers. Knowledge is the bronze medal, ability is the silver, relationships are the gold, and thinking is the ace. A proper mindset is far more important than effort. May we all possess high-level thinking methods to live more harmoniously with this world. The achievements you attain in this life depend on your thinking model. Your thoughts determine your path. If your thinking does not reach a certain height, your steps will never get there. The books you read, the paths you take, the experiences you have, and the people you meet are all paving stones that help upgrade your mindset. Keep sharpening your mind in this world, cultivating your inner self, and one day you will surpass your limits and see a bigger world. Thank you for following today's content. If you find my content valuable, don't forget to share it with friends and family. Follow me to learn more about the secrets of money and fortune. Goodbye and see you again.